Imagine a whopping $9 million bribe. 9 million. The money they would have used to do something meaningful for the use of Nigerians, for the betterment of the youth of Nigerians. But they prefer to use it as a bribe to US government. Seems like fetching water from the tap and pouring it into the ocean. Nigerians are suffering, but they prefer to give a bribe to US government in order to cover up their crimes. It's really painful. Listen to the news.
These US lawmakers has vowed that Tinubu will regret that $9 million he paid to lobbying company to make sure they bury the story of the Christian genocide in Nigeria. In fact, according to what they are saying here, they said Remi Tinubu, Tinubu's wife that came to US recently, was also coming as a lobbyist to make sure that she also lobbied the House, the lawmakers and the Congress in the US to close that case. But guess what? Listen to the kind of embarrassment they gave to her, and they are even getting more angry, and now they have vowed to make sure. Let me not talk. Listen to them by yourself.
Growing trend all over the world, including in the United States, but especially in the Middle East. It's been there for a long time. That has gotten worse. Hamas is a quintessential example of that hatred for Jews and for Christians. And then you have a situation like in Nigeria, where more Christians have been killed there than anywhere else in the world. And you have a government in Nigeria that practices denial, a culture of denial. No, nothing to see here. They even hired DC. A big firm here in D.C.
The First Lady was here. She was here this week, and in fact, they wanted to come on the program to talk about religious freedom. And I said, I'm not going to give them. I'll meet with them. I'm happy to meet with anybody.
Same here.
But I'm not going to give them a platform to cover up what they're doing in Nigeria.
And that's just what it is—a massive cover-up. You know, I met with a big delegation that came in, and it went for almost 2 hours. And the Attorney General of Nigeria said that this Bishop Anabe, who I had at 2 of my hearings, you were there.
He
you
testified right next to me.
Right next to you, a wonderful man. He said, "Oh, he's a liar." And I said, "Whoa, stop that!" You know. And then they always do the thing. Well, my wife's a Christian, or I'm a Christian, and my husband. You know, it's like, don't tell me that. What is happening as churches are being firebombed, people are being killed in cold blood. You know, abductions, which is very, very big there in Nigeria, of Christians especially, but others, but especially Christians. And there's this assault on faith that has gotten worse. Obama did nothing. You know, Boko Haram flourished under his 8 years in office, and now
it was your persistent advocacy that actually eventually got them labeled as a terrorist organization.
Yes, for 3 years we tried, Tony, and I had hearings on it. We had people give very, very compelling testimony as to what Boko Haram was doing, and finally, on the day we were marking up my bill to tell the administration you have to declare them a FTO, foreign terrorist organization, that day, that hour, basically, they said, "Oh, they're an FTO," and it was like, 3 years ago, we could have been working to find out where their sources of funding and weapons.
Before they kidnapped many of the girls.
That's right, the Chibok girls and many of the others were all. And that continues to this day.
Let me ask you about that, Congressman Smith, because as you say that it's gotten worse, you've got these dictators and tyrants in different parts of the world. My experience when I was chairing the USERF Commission, going to different countries, is that many of these bad actors have seen what's happened in America over the last 2 decades, where we have gone from one administration that actually, like we have right now, that protects religious freedom, to one that doesn't care about religious freedom and promotes abortion and LGBTQ. And so they just want to wait out.
That's true.
So we're not having that persistent, consistent presence of influence on the world.
Well, that's a very keen observation, because I have found that you even hear that from some of the diplomats when you talk to them. Oh, he'll be gone. Trump will be gone in 2 years. And in what potentially could come in a very, very liberal Democrat like the governor of California, who couldn't care less about religious freedom. You know, I remember I had hearings.
Well, it's the Democratic Party doesn't care about it.
There are many. There are
it's very clear.
Most of them don't. You're right.
But when it comes to their priorities and their platform,
it's not there.
You don't see it there.
Right. And, you know, we saw it with Barack Obama. I would continually say, okay, the International Religious Freedom Act, authored brilliantly by Frank Wolf, it says you must provide us with countries of particular concern, countries that are really doing bad things that can be sanctioned. And we wouldn't even get the list year in and year out.
But that legislation also says that religious freedom will be a priority in our foreign policy.
Exactly what it says, a core. Absolutely, it says that, and it's been in effect since 1998. I'm happy to say that the Republicans have very faithfully administered it.
Okay, let me try to stress your brain small. So the real picture in the table is not the Christian genocide, it's not the US strike, it's not everything. What is about the next election. That's the real picture. But let's get into the details in this manner. First and foremost is that Tinubu is currently under pressure to drop Shetima because the optics is very bad. Now, people are lamenting about Christian genocide. Then when they now try to investigate, the first thing that comes to their mind is the fact that the president is a Muslim, the vice is a Muslim. Of all the whole Christian in the country, they didn't see one. And that's why Tinubu had to even send his wife as a lobbyist. Because, of course, she's a pastor. So she can go and convince them that me and my husband, we are living together peacefully. My husband is not that Muslim fanatics that we are Muslim. We are family and we have Muslim and Christian. So, but the question will keep repeating itself there. Why didn't you see a Christian to run with? So now, according to Dalong, he said currently there are 3 names that have been submitted to Tinubu to pick one from the north, and those names are Christians that can replace Shetima. Now, APC have also claimed that if Tinubu decides to run with a Christian from the north, that is a minority from the north, that it won't guarantee him victory. But there is another bigger trouble for Tinubu on the table within the US. That bigger trouble is the fact that the US still have the option of regime change on the table, one side. But let me tell you something. The US is likely going to sit by and watch. And what they will be watching is the election, the next election. And look at the things they will be looking at. If Tinubu decides to run with Shetima and the election is not free and fair enough, if the outcome of that election is contested, Tinubu will be in a very big trouble. Very big trouble. So, if Tinubu decides to run with a Christian, that is a minority from the south and a minority from the north, he knows he cannot win that election on a free and fair process. If Tinubu decides to pick a Christian from the north, Tinubu himself is a minority from the south, and a Christian in the north is also a minority from the north. So that will mean that Tinubu will have to rig to win. But I think Tinubu will prefer to rig alongside a Christian running mate than to rig alongside a Muslim running mate, because the optics is different, especially considering what is already on ground. But let's wait. But you see this 2027, that is what is actually rattling Tinubu right now, not the abduction and all that. I like this. Yeah.